Why are Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc refusing to celebrate Ferrari's recent comeback just yet? On paper, Ferrari finally looks like a genuine championship contender again. The victories are coming, the upgrades are working, and the momentum has completely shifted. But behind the scenes, there's one question that neither driver can ignore. It's the same question reportedly being asked throughout the Formula One paddock, and depending on the answer, it could decide whether Ferrari's championship dream becomes reality or slips away once again. For weeks, Ferrari fans have watched something they've been waiting years to see. The famous red cars are no longer simply fighting for podium finishes. They're fighting at the very front. Lewis Hamilton has finally claimed his first Grand Prix victory for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc has added another impressive win, and suddenly the conversation around the Scuderia has changed completely. But in Formula One, momentum can disappear just as quickly as it arrives. Before we go any further, if you enjoy detailed Formula One analysis, breaking Ferrari updates, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, here's where things become really interesting. Many people expected Ferrari to struggle throughout the season after Mercedes established themselves as the benchmark during the opening rounds. Instead, Ferrari quietly refused to panic. Rather than making dramatic public statements or blaming bad luck, the team focused on understanding exactly where the SF26 was losing performance. That patient approach may now be paying off. According to recent reports, Ferrari ended the first half of the season on a remarkably strong run. Across the final 5 races before the summer break, Ferrari actually outscored Mercedes, something that looked almost impossible just a few months earlier. It wasn't by an enormous margin, but in Formula One, even a small advantage can completely change the direction of a championship battle. Lewis Hamilton played a huge role in that turnaround. When Hamilton made the blockbuster move to Ferrari, expectations immediately skyrocketed. Supporters believed they were watching the beginning of one of Formula One's greatest partnerships, while critics questioned whether both Ferrari and Hamilton had arrived too late to challenge consistently for another championship. For much of the early season, neither side had a convincing answer. There were flashes of speed, there were encouraging qualifying performances, there were moments where Ferrari looked capable of challenging Mercedes, but over an entire race weekend, something always seemed to be missing. Sometimes it was tire management, sometimes it was outright pace. Other weekends, strategy became the talking point. Every race seemed to introduce a different obstacle. Then, Barcelona changed everything. Ferrari introduced a package of upgrades that appeared to unlock the true potential of the SF26. Suddenly, Hamilton wasn't simply keeping pace with the leaders, he was controlling the race. Instead of defending position after position, he looked confident, composed, and completely comfortable at the front. When the checkered flag finally dropped, Hamilton had secured his first Ferrari Grand Prix victory, a moment that many supporters had imagined ever since his sensational transfer was announced. Winning races changes more than championship points. It changes belief. Inside the garage, mechanics begin working with even greater confidence. Engineers become more willing to chase aggressive developments. Drivers begin trusting the car under pressure. Momentum becomes real, and Ferrari suddenly had plenty of it. What made the situation even more encouraging was that Hamilton's victory wasn't treated as a one-off success. Soon afterward, Charles Leclerc delivered another major statement by taking victory at the British Grand Prix. Two different Ferrari drivers had now proven that the SF26 possessed genuine race-winning pace against the strongest competition on the grid. Naturally, excitement exploded across the Formula One community. Could Ferrari actually challenge for the championship? Had Mercedes finally been hot? Was this the beginning of another golden era at Maranello? Those questions became louder every single weekend. Yet surprisingly, the people who seemed the least interested in celebrating were Hamilton and Leclerc themselves. That may sound strange. After all, both drivers had every reason to feel optimistic. Their performances were improving, the upgrades were working, the championship gap had started shrinking. But according to reports, both drivers remained focused on one issue that could determine everything after the summer break. The concern wasn't about speed, it wasn't about qualifying, and it wasn't about driver confidence. Instead, the question was much bigger. Could Ferrari continue developing the SF26 quickly enough to stay ahead in one of the most competitive technical battles Formula One has seen in years? That single question hangs over Ferrari's entire championship campaign. Because Formula One seasons aren't won by building one fast car. They're won by building a faster car every few weeks. A team that stops improving quickly becomes vulnerable. History has shown this countless times. Teams often begin a season brilliantly before rivals eventually catch them through relentless development. Ferrari knows that better than almost anyone. That's exactly why team principal Fred Vasseur has reportedly insisted that development will continue aggressively throughout the remainder of the season. The message inside Maranello appears clear. Recent victories are encouraging, but they won't mean much unless Ferrari can keep finding performance while Mercedes continues pushing just as hard. And that's where another fascinating twist begins to emerge. The current championship standings may not tell the entire story. In Barcelona, the Ferrari driver has consistently outscored the Mercedes youngster, quietly reducing what once looked like an almost untouchable lead. Every strong weekend has added another layer of pressure, not only on Mercedes, but on Antonelli himself. Yet here's where Formula One becomes fascinating. Championship battles are rarely decided by outright speed alone. Reliability, timing, mechanical failures, tiny pieces of bad luck. Over an entire season, those moments can completely rewrite history. And according to reports, Antonelli has already experienced 2 weekends that could prove incredibly significant by the time the final race arrives. The first came in Barcelona. Ironically, this was the race that finally gave Hamilton his long-awaited Ferrari victory. While Hamilton was delivering one of his strongest performances since joining the Scuderia, Antonelli was chasing him closely, applying pressure, and looking capable of challenging near the front. Then everything changed. Instead of the battle continuing naturally until the checkered flag, Antonelli's race came to an abrupt end because of a battery reliability issue. Suddenly, valuable championship points disappeared through no fault of his own. Moments like that are devastating. Drivers prepare for weeks, teams invest countless hours, engineers optimize every tiny detail, and sometimes the outcome is decided by a component no larger than your hand. That's Formula One. Then came Silverstone. Once again, Antonelli appeared capable of securing another huge result. Charles Leclerc had driven brilliantly, but Antonelli remained firmly in contention before another technical setback dramatically altered the story of the race. Reports state that damage involving the front left wheel shield severely affected the Mercedes driver's ability to carry speed through corners. What had looked like another major points finish suddenly became a recovery drive instead. To make matters even worse, Antonelli later received a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, pushing him even further down the order. Instead of celebrating another strong finish, Mercedes left Silverstone wondering how many valuable championship points had slipped away. Those 2 races have created one of the biggest talking points of the entire championship. What would the standings look like today if those reliability problems had never happened? It's an impossible question to answer with certainty. Formula One simply doesn't work that way. One changed result can influence strategy in later races, confidence levels, even upgrade priorities. Still, several analysts have tried to estimate the potential impact. According to the reported calculations, Antonelli's championship lead could actually have been substantially larger had those setbacks not occurred. If he had converted Barcelona and Silverstone into the strong finishes many expected, Hamilton's deficit at the summer break might have been around 74 points instead of the current margin. Leclerc's gap could also have been significantly greater. That's an extraordinary detail, because while Ferrari supporters understandably celebrate closing the gap, Mercedes can point to missed opportunities that weren't caused by a lack of pace. Both interpretations can be true. Ferrari genuinely improved. Mercedes genuinely lost points through circumstances beyond the driver's control. And that's exactly why predicting the second half of the season has become almost impossible. This is also why Hamilton and Leclerc reportedly remain cautious despite Ferrari's remarkable progress. They're experienced enough to understand that momentum can be misleading. Winning 2 races doesn't automatically make you favorites. Neither does leading the championship guarantee success. What matters is who develops fastest from this point forward. Formula One has entered an era where upgrades arrive almost every race weekend. A redesigned floor, a revised front wing, minor suspension changes, cooling improvements, aerodynamic refinements that are almost invisible to the naked eye. Each one might only deliver a fraction of a second, but stack enough of those gains together, and suddenly an entire championship can swing in another direction. Fred Vasseur appears fully aware of that reality. According to reports, the Ferrari team principal has made it clear that the team cannot become comfortable simply because recent results have improved. The objective is to continue introducing upgrades after the summer break in an effort to keep pressure on Mercedes and remain firmly in the championship conversation. That's easier said than done.
Every development package represents months of work, wind tunnel testing, simulation programs, manufacturing deadlines, budget restrictions, and perhaps the biggest challenge of all, knowing which ideas are actually worth pursuing. One successful upgrade can transform a season. One unsuccessful upgrade can waste weeks of precious development time. Ferrari has experienced both scenarios many times over the last decade. That's why the question reportedly being asked throughout the paddock isn't whether Ferrari is fast today. Everyone can already see that. The real question is whether Ferrari has finally built a development program capable of matching Mercedes over an entire championship campaign. Because if the answer is yes, everything about this title fight could change after the summer break. And that's exactly where the balance of power in Formula One begins to shift. For much of the first half of the season, Mercedes enjoyed something every championship-leading team dreams of, a comfortable position at the top. They had the fastest overall package, Antonelli was collecting points almost every weekend, and their rivals were spending more time asking questions and celebrating victories. But Formula One has a habit of changing faster than anyone expects. Just a handful of races later, Ferrari isn't simply chasing anymore. They're forcing Mercedes to react. That psychological shift might be just as important as anything happening on the stopwatch. Think about it from Mercedes' perspective. Earlier in the season, their biggest objective was maximizing their own performance. Now they also have to keep one eye on Ferrari's development program. Every upgrade Ferrari introduces becomes something Mercedes must immediately evaluate. Is it faster? Does it solve a weakness? Do we need our own response? Those questions never stop.
Championship battle. And while the engineers focus on data, the drivers feel that pressure every single lap. For Antonelli, this is unfamiliar territory. Leading a Formula One championship sounds exciting, and it absolutely is, but it also creates a completely different kind of challenge. Every race suddenly feels more important. Every mistake attracts more attention. Every qualifying session becomes another opportunity for rivals to reduce the gap. That's why maintaining a championship lead is often harder than chasing one. Hamilton knows that better than almost anyone. Throughout his career, he has experienced both sides of title fights. He's been the driver trying to hunt down the leader. He's also been the one everyone else was chasing. That experience could become one of Ferrari's biggest strengths during the second half of the season. Instead of panicking over the remaining points deficit, Hamilton understands something many younger drivers only learn with time. Championships aren't won by thinking about the final race in August. They're won by maximizing every single weekend. One extra position, one smarter strategy, one better tire decision. Those tiny victories eventually become massive advantages months later. Leclerc shares a similar mindset. For years, he has carried enormous expectations at Ferrari. Every season has begun with hope. Every difficult result has generated headlines. Every missed opportunity has been analyzed from every possible angle. Yet, despite all that pressure, Leclerc has remained committed to helping Ferrari return to the very top. His victory at Silverstone wasn't simply another race win. It reinforced the belief that Ferrari's recent progress wasn't built around one circuit or one set of conditions. Different tracks, different weather, different challenges. The SF26 continued showing genuine competitiveness. That's exactly what Ferrari supporters wanted to see. Still, nobody inside Maranello appears ready to declare victory. According to reports, both Hamilton and Leclerc remain especially interested in seeing whether Ferrari can answer the biggest question hanging over their season. Can the team continue matching Mercedes as development intensifies after the summer break? It's reportedly a question being discussed by many people throughout the paddock as well. That detail says a lot. When rival teams begin asking questions about your development pace, it usually means they've noticed something. Maybe Ferrari has found a breakthrough. Maybe Mercedes still has another major upgrade waiting. Maybe Red Bull or another team could unexpectedly enter the conversation. Right now, nobody outside the factories truly knows. And that's one of the reasons Formula One remains so compelling. Unlike many sports, performance isn't fixed. The fastest car in July isn't automatically the fastest car in September. Every race weekend becomes another chapter in an engineering competition happening behind closed doors. Thousands of simulation runs, late-night factory shifts, wind tunnel sessions, endless meetings over tiny aerodynamic details. Fans only see the final product. They rarely see the incredible effort required to produce a few hundredths of a second.
For Ferrari, those hundreds may define the entire season, because if the next upgrade package delivers another meaningful improvement, Hamilton and Leclerc could place Mercedes under even greater pressure. But if development stalls, the championship could begin slipping away again. That's why Fred Vasseur's approach may prove so important. Rather than celebrating recent success, he has reportedly acknowledged that Ferrari's current level alone is still not enough to secure the Drivers' Championship. The objective is clear: continue improving, continue applying pressure, and avoid believing the job is already done. It's a realistic mindset. Formula One rewards consistency, not headlines, not predictions, not emotional reactions after one race. Consistency. That's exactly what Ferrari must produce from the opening lap after the summer break until the final checkered flag. Meanwhile, Mercedes cannot afford complacency either. Antonelli still holds the advantage. He still controls his own championship destiny. But advantages disappear quickly when rivals begin winning races consistently. The next few Grand Prix may therefore become the defining stretch of the entire championship. If Ferrari continues reducing the gap, momentum could swing completely towards Maranello. If Mercedes responds immediately with another step forward, the title race may once again move beyond Ferrari's reach. At this stage, neither outcome can be ruled out. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from everything we've seen so far. Only a few races ago, many people believed the championship was beginning to settle into a predictable pattern. Now, that certainty has disappeared. Hamilton has demonstrated that Ferrari can win. Leclerc has reinforced that message. Mercedes has shown remarkable consistency despite frustrating reliability setbacks. Antonelli continues leading the standings, and the paddock now heads into one of the most important phases of the season with one unanswered question hanging over everyone. Can Ferrari maintain this incredible rate of progress? Until the first races after the summer break provide an answer, that question will continue dominating conversations inside garages, throughout the paddock, and among millions of Formula One fans. One thing, however, seems increasingly clear: the championship fight is far from over. And if Ferrari answers that lingering question the way Hamilton, Leclerc, and their supporters hope, the final chapter of this Formula One season could become one of the most memorable in recent years.